That's what the midpoint of this is, and I'm just like... Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Just Another Struggling Writer, the beleaguered author's one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. Today is the start of another weekly reading vlog. And for this vlog, I am going to be tackling one book that I've already started, that I started in last week's vlog, one that I've already read before, and I'm going to be making progress on an audiobook that is quite long. So if you've been following along with my reading vlogs, you know that the book that I've already started is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. And when I last left off with this book, I think I was about 30% of the way through. And today I read about 10 more percent, about 60 more pages of this book, and I think I like it. I think it's fine. I like the way the story is going, the direction it's going. I like that the main character, Tao, is flawed. He started this in this book as kind of a coward, and definitely not a very skilled swordsman, which is all he has ever intended to be. And at this point in the book, he is slowly improving himself. Earlier on in the book, he experienced an extreme tragedy that kind of altered the course of his life, and now he is seeking revenge on those who ruined his life by improving himself as a fighter and trying to rise through the ranks of a military that is designed to keep people like him pretty much squashed down. He is on one of the lowest tiers of society in his caste, and the society is very military heavy. They have been fighting like a 200 years long war against the native population of the island they colonized. And as such, everything in their society is built around being the strongest and the fastest and the most, efficient warrior. And people in Tao's caste are partially so lower ranked because they are not as physically capable as members of the higher castes. And he doesn't really care about the war that they're fighting in, but he does want revenge on people who are demonstrably stronger than him. And so the last 150 pages or so have been about him trying to get himself to a point where the idea that he could take his revenge is even feasible. And I think I like all of that. My only complaint about this book, and I think I mentioned it last time, is that this book is the narrative is very, very combat heavy, but it's not like war. It's mostly just Tao in training and sparring with his fellow initiates and doing his best to get stronger. And it's like, at least in this sequence of the book, it has been a little bit of narration and then a fight scene, and then a little bit of narration and then another fight scene. And it's just so focused on his progression as a warrior, and it is getting a little tedious. I don't particularly love ton of combat scenes because they just don't really do anything to move the plot along. I know that military fantasy and military focused stories are a huge genre for a lot of people. They're just not for me. I don't mind them on occasion if it's part of the plot, but again, I feel like I read 60 pages today and almost it was just saturated with sparring scenes about Tao getting stronger and better. And I could live with that if it was if it was a time lapse and we were occasionally getting scenes of showing his progression as a warrior, because that does matter to the story. But it's been a lot. Again, I don't think I'm too mad at it. It is just oh good, another fight scene where the author describes in minute detail how he is maneuvering and thinking and moving through this sparring match. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. It's fine. I think I like it. The writing is good and it reads very, very quickly. The author does an interesting thing where he has, if you look at the table of contents, the chapters are very, very long, but they're broken down into sub chapters, and those chapters are pretty short, and it makes it feel like you're moving through it very, very quickly. So there is that. So I definitely think that this is something I can finish this week. We've also got the holiday this week. That being said, I don't know if that works for or against my reading plans. we'll just have to see. So that is Rage of Dragons. Like I said, enjoying it for the most part, probably going to finish it this week. That is my ebook. For my physical book, I have chosen to continue reading The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is a reread for me. I read it about 5 or 6 years ago, and I gave it 5 stars. I loved it so much. And I'm rereading it because it has just been too long, and I don't really feel comfortable reading the next book in the series until I kind of give myself a refresher course. And I'm really glad that I did. I've only reread the first chapter so far, but it just reminds me so much of why I loved it in the first place. I love Robin Hobb's writing. I love this style of fantasy. I love Fitz, and the whole situation that he finds himself in is very intriguing to me. I have said it before and I'll say it again. This feels like a fantasy book that was written specifically for me. I just love it. I know a lot of people think it's boring. I do not. I think it's perfect just the way it is. So not much to say about that because A, I've already read it, and B, I'm just not too far into it in my reread process. And then for my third book that is going to be a running gag throughout the month is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I am listening to it on audio, and as you all know, I am a very slow audio listener because I just struggle with audio processing issues, and also I don't have much of a commute anymore, which is when I got most of my audio listening done. So I really only have time to listen to it when I'm in the shower or when I am doing a specific task at work that requires almost no brain power, but I don't do very often. So that is probably going to be something that I listen to in dribs and drabs throughout the month, and hopefully I actually finish it this month. It was on my TBR last month, but between my vacation and getting sick, it wasn't happening. So those are the 3 books that I will be reading this week, and I am looking forward to, again, continuing the slow, painful crawl out of the horrible reading slump that plagued my spring and extended, unfortunately, into June because of various circumstances. So I will follow up with you guys tomorrow once I have read a little bit more, and I will see you then. Hello, everyone. It is time for a quick reading update. But first, I just want to mention that I do have some stuff going on in my personal life that is taking up quite a bit of time, attention, and just energy. I'm not going to go too deeply into it, but this is probably going to be another one of those extended reading vlogs because I don't anticipate getting a ton of reading done this weekend or in parts of next week. But I did read another 10% of The Rage of Dragons. I am now just over the 50% mark, and I have decided that I am extremely bored with all of the combat. It's combat after combat after combat, and like everything is framed around the sparring and the training sequences, at least so far. Even the character development, and I hesitate to say development because for Tao, it's been pretty one note since like the inciting incident. Of course, I'm at the halfway point, the midpoint, so I assume things are going to change, and probably very soon because another very traumatic event happened for him recently, and there's a exciting moment going on. Have you ever gotten to a point in a book where something is happening and you know it's going to be exciting, but you also know that the main character is about to like royally fuck themselves over with some bad decisions or some circumstances that puts them in a position where they only have bad choices? That's what the midpoint of this is, and I'm just like, so right now this book is falling at about a 3.5 for me because I just don't care about the combat. I just don't care. Like, I just also sort of find it funny that one of the key, I don't know if this counts as a spoiler, but one of the key moments so far is Tao discovering that he can fight with 2 swords. And this is like blowing everybody's minds because apparently nobody in this military has ever done this in the 200 years that they've been around. And I'm just like, really? This is the first time that someone has thought of this? I just find that really strains the credibility because, I don't know, maybe it's just because I play a lot of video games, but like dual wielding is part and parcel of almost any role-playing game with combat. Like, come on. But I'm just gonna leave that aside. That's pretty much it. There's really not much to say because there hasn't really been that much development. Tao is getting stronger. He's gone from a coward who was kind of weaker, on the weaker side and not that skilled or tactically minded, and he has, because of this traumatic event that happened to him, he has thrown himself completely into training to become better in search of vengeance. And that has kind of been interesting about like just watching that, but it hasn't really been explored. It's just been stated. He has thrown himself into this, and everything he is doing is in pursuit of this goal, and he is forsaking the few relationships that he has. He is manipulating the people that he, knows to help him further this goal, but it's not really, it's not really explored. It's just said. I can see why this would be popular with some, type of fantasy fans. So far it's just not for me. I'm just very bored with the constant just sparring matches and combat scenes. I feel like the last 150 pages probably could have been summarized down to like 30, but that does not seem to be the story that the author wants to tell. The author wants us to go on this journey with Tao in excruciating detail. That's where I'm at. I'm at the halfway point. The other part of this that's making it hard is that its length. It's almost, it's just over 500 pages. I think 560. So yeah, almost 600 pages. And so just getting through it is tedious in and of itself because it's so long, but just the fact that it's just ad nauseum. Just Tao has another fight with one of his sparring partners, and he figures something new out, or he's a little bit better, or he proves once again that he is so singularly minded that he can't see anything else. And it's just, I get it. We'll just see how it goes. Again, I don't know how much reading I'm going to get done for the rest of this week. I'm going to try maybe a little bit tonight, maybe a little bit tomorrow. I don't know that I can read another 250 pages this weekend, but we'll see. We'll just have to see. But that's where I'm at. It's fine. We'll just have to see how the second half goes, but I don't have any reason to think that it's going to be any different from the first half, because the first half has been so completely devoted to this. It would be a huge switch to go from very, very, very combat scene heavy to plot heavy, but could happen. I guess we'll see. So I will check in with you. I don't know if I'll check in tomorrow or Sunday, but I will check in with you with another update soon. Hello everyone. It is time for another reading update from your friendly neighborhood struggling writer. It is now Sunday evening, and I wish I could tell you that I finished a book and I'm going to tell you all about it, but I didn't. I had a personal family thing come up over the holiday, and it really just sucked a lot of the oxygen and energy out of the end of my week. And so I did get some reading done, but I didn't get the book finished that I wanted to. So it is what it is. But I decided I'm going to go ahead and post this anyway, because I'm trying to get into a habit of vlogging every day. And in the last month and a half, I have just been kind of fobbing it off to the next week's video if I feel like I haven't made enough progress or I haven't filmed enough. And that isn't really putting me in the right headspace to make it a habit. So I'm going to go ahead and film. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. And I'm going to go ahead and post this video in hopes of establishing what I would like to be a reading, writing, recording, updating routine. Okay, that's housekeeping. Now to the books. I am now at about 70% of The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, and I have got to say that I am really tired of reading this book. I am so sorry to fans, but I genuinely do feel like this book would be 250 pages if you condensed all the all the fight scenes down to what was absolutely necessary, because not all of them are, in terms of moving the plot and demonstrating character growth. In fact, I would say that a lot of character growth is actually done in like summarizing scenes and like just skipping ahead to the next big battle that we need, or we are shown. What's crazy is I don't even hate this book. I would probably rate it at about 3 stars if I had to rate it right now at 70%. I think there's a lot of good stuff in it. The journey that Tao, our main character, has gone on from the kind of wimpy, cowardly, weak person that he is at the beginning of the book, kind of tagging along behind his dad and his friend who is in a higher caste than he is, to now acknowledged to be one of the best, if not the best fighter in his caste, and potentially has the possibility of even being stronger than people who are considered to have a greater natural ability and greater physical characteristics over him. I've really liked seeing that journey, like what has driven him, how far he's willing to push himself, how different of a person he is after the tragedy that changed the course of his life from where he was at the beginning. I really like all that. I think that the setting is interesting. There's a lot of really good concepts in the lore, but because we're so heavily focused on Tao and how he is developing himself as this great warrior and like specifically through the vehicle of battle scenes, we're not getting any of that lore except in like lore dumps, exposition dumps in dialogue and stuff. And I feel like that's a little bit wasted. And I'm sure that there's a market for this kind of fiction that's really like focused on these fight scenes. Plainly, I'm not part of that audience. Yeah, I'm gonna finish. I just hate that I have read almost 400 pages and I still have 170 to go. And I'm at 70%. 70%. Normally, when I hit the 65% mark, I just blitz read to the end because the plot has really started to pick up and it's like hurtling downhill so fast that I can't stop. I'm at 70% and something just happened that was interesting and could be the catalyst for the climax. But then there was a summarizing scene that encompassed like a month, and then we're back into another battle. And I'm so tired of it. I don't want to read 170 more pages of just fight scenes. I want to get into the political stuff that we just found out. And I want to find out how that political stuff affects Tao and affects his journey and affects his plans. I'm just tired. I'm tired of reading this book. I can't wait for it to be over. And I say all that without even like hating it as viscerally as I have some other books that I have pushed through the end. It has just become so tedious. I cannot stress to you how much page time these fight scenes take up, unless you've read it, in which you know. But I am going to finish it this week for sure. Even if I only read 50 pages a day, I can finish it this week. Which, with everything that I have going on this week is absolutely bonkers with everything I have going on. It's a time right now. It is such a time for me. But 170 pages, I am certain I can finish that this week. Probably won't be tomorrow. Might not even be Tuesday. But by Wednesday, my plan is to have this book completely in the bag. And I will update you when I do finish it. So that's The Rage of Dragons. And then I also made a little bit of progress in The Blade itself by Joe Abercrombie. I am about, if I'm calculating the listening hours to like a percentage correctly, I'm at about like 17%. So I feel like I can finally like give my thoughts on whatever. I try not to give my thoughts on a book until I've at least hit 10%, and I finally did. So my problem with this book is I've listened to 3.5 hours, again, about 17%, and I could not tell you for the life of me what this book is about. And I don't know if it's because I'm listening to it on audio and I'm just missing stuff because I am a very poor audio listener, or if it was written that way. So what I know is we've got 3 POV characters so far. We have Inquisitor Glocta, who is a man who was in the army and he was like captured and tortured, and that left him severely disabled physically, but he has now taken his skills and knowledge and expertise into the Inquisition, and he is an inquisitor for the king. And where I left off in the book, he had just sort of been press ganged into service for a politician who's like trying to usurp power, and he doesn't seem too happy about it, but he also knows that if he says no, he'll probably be in a gutter the next day, so he's just going with it. He's pretty intriguing to me, but that might just be because he's the only character that I have any sense of. And then we have Jazal, who is, I think, the son of a nobleman, and he is training to fight in some sort of competition or contest, some sort of melee, and he is very spoiled and not a very likable person. That's really all I know about him. And then we have Logan Ninefingers, who I think is supposed to be the main character because he's the first POV we got. But even though I've had a couple of chapters of him, I have no idea what's going on with him. No idea. He was fighting some things, beastmen, I don't know. He beat them, but he was pretty beat up. Then he hobbled his way through some snow, and then he met some spirits who told him to go meet up with some archmage, and then he went to go meet up with the archmage, but the archmage sent his apprentice who got lost and is like dying because he's out in the snow, and then so he's hauling this apprentice back to the tower, and that's it. I don't know why he was fighting the Beastmen. I don't know. I know he had like a whole ass village and a whole ass wife and children before some sort of tragedy struck, raiders maybe. And I know he's like a mercenary or a warrior now, but I don't know anything about like what he was doing in between the time that he lost his family and now. I don't know like how he became to be such a renowned warrior. I don't know why the spirits contacted him or what this thing with the magus is. No earthly idea. And again, it could be that this is all explained and it just went in one ear and out the other because as I've explained, audio is difficult for me because if I lose concentration for 1 second, I miss all of it. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe my audiobook just skipped a chapter or something. I don't know. I do not know. Please tell me in the comments if the first 15% of the blade itself is this confusing on purpose. On the one hand, I kind of like that it just drops you in the middle of the action of his life without preamble and without explanation, without apology. But at the same time, like I would think at this point where I've had something like 3 or 4 chapters of his perspective, that I would kind of get a sense of what his goal is, what his quest is, what his arc of the story is going to be. Because like I said, kind of have a sense of Glokta. I kind of sort of have a sense of Jazal. No idea what Logan is doing or why. I'm going to continue to make probably pretty slow progress on this book, but progress was made, I am proud to say. And we'll get there eventually. I think this audiobook is 22 and a half hours or just over 22 hours. I'm listening at 1.5. That is absolutely the fastest I can go. So I still have a while left. I think I'm at 3.5 hours. So we're in it for the long haul. So that is my update, my last reading update for this week. Thank you so much for watching. In my next video, I'm going to be doing the mid-year Freakout Tag, my very first mid-year Freakout Tag on YouTube. I am so excited. I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.